reka mpere mu bihumbi wenda mu bihumbi bibiri uwari minisitiri w'intebe w'Ububirigi ni umufarama ndibaza kuko mpereye ku izina yitwa Verhofstadt yaje hano mu Rwanda mu gihe cyo kwibuka ajya dans les détails avuga uruhare rw'Ububirigi kugeza kuri jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi ni ibintu biri on record yararahanga Verhofstadt yari premier ministre w'Ububirigi cyo ibyo bintu ntabwo byavuyeho ko yabivuze ahagarariye igihugu uyu munsi Maxime Prevost ntabwo yabikuraho ariko ibyo ngibyo abantu baravuze bati hari ibintu bakunda kuvuga uko buriya hariho rupture de relations diplomatiques hariho na rétablissement des relations diplomatiques kongera kuzisubizaho donc renouer les relations kongera gusubiza birashoboka kongera ngo muze ko twacanye umubano n'Ubufaransa tukongera kusubizaho kuko baravuga ngo inyungu ibihugu bibana wenda kubera inyungu reka doni dushaka tubifate gutyo bakunda kuvuga ngo hari ukuntu bavuga ngo muri politike nta mwanzi uhoraho nta n'inshuti ihoraho reka tubyagure tubigeze mu bihugu tubibare gutyo tuvuge ko ariko imibanire y'ibihugu relation internationale ariko yubatse aho twabonaga hari inyungu twahuriraho n'Ubufaransa habaye gushyiramo imiyaga ku mugani w'abasore b'iki gihe noneho turavuga tuti ibintu byo gukomeza kurebana y'ingwe n'Ubufaransa wenda ntabwo ari byo bidufasha ariko Ububirigi muzi neza yuko habaye reka njya hafi habaye kohereza kuko kuva muri 1994 buriya ikintu kigaragara nuko Ububirigi nk'abantu babibye bashyizizanye politike y'amacakubiri hano abantu bashyigikiye ubutegetsi bwa Perezida Kayibanda ngira ngo uzarebe guverinoma ya Perezida Kayibanda abenshi bari Ababirigi utabaze ba conseil ubwo ndavuga aba ministre bari bafite kuko wasangaga aba ministre fura ari Ababirigi ahubwo ba secrétaire d'État ari bo Banyarwanda noneho ukareba uruhare rw'Ububirigi nibyo navuze ko rwatanze ubwigenge butuzuye ariko rugumana controle ku bintu biri strategique ibyo barabikomeje ndetse bigeze ku butegetsi bwa Habyarimana Abafaransa basa naho babarushije imbaraga mu gihe cy'ubutegetsi bwa Habyarimana mu gihe cy'ubutegetsi bwa Kayibanda bo basaga naho aribo bayobora igihugu igihe cy'ubutegetsi bwa Habyarimana icyakora Abafaransa basa naho bagiyemo ariko nabo bagumana akaboko zikabo ba Philippe Regency tuvuga abitwa ba René Dorf nibo banditse amategeko nshinga hano itegeko nshinga ryo muri 1978 nibo witwa René Dorf na Philippe Regency n'Ababirigi nibo baryanditse ngegera ngo bari bafite umuntu w'umunyarwanda sinzi niba bajya bamwe babiteramo urwenya ngo nuba batwazaga ibitabo n'umusaza witwa Antoine Ntashamaje nawe yari umunyamategeko wo hambere ariko icyo gihe bigaragara ko Ububirigi n'ubundi kuboko k'Ububirigi ntabwo kugeze kuva hano ndetse nunareba n'aba ba officier bacu ibijyanye na coopération militaire hari ikintu cyitwaga école royale militaire yo mu Bubirigi aba basirikare bose bako Habyarimana bose tous ces officiers bose bakubwira ngo ni ba BM brevet d'état major abenshi niho bigaga.
So President Tshisekedi has been a big failure. He's a champion. His administration on corruption, using more money, going outside of the country, spends more money, and if I can say this, in colonial time, the Belgians left Congo with a real army. On the beginning of the 70s, our army was going to Egypt to fight to defend the other territory. We are almost 120 million people. You are over 2.3 million square kilometer. Very, very huge. In the beginning, we didn't have this problem because of bad governance, because of fake election. You know, if the people, they don't support you. Today, there is this issue on the East. Where is the 73% which elected President Tshisekedi to go and defend him in the street? No. Because the people didn't find themselves on this regime. We have to live in peacefully with all the neighbors. The only things we need to talk, to have a frank talk between first Congolese. When I was campaigning, I wrote even to President Tshisekedi. And is what happening today. Our soldiers are not fighting. You know what is the salary for a colonel in my country per month? A colonel, $120. You know what is the salary for a member of parliament? $25,000. You know what is the salary for a soldier which is in the war? Less than $80. You know what is the salary for minister? Huge. There is a budget which just came out. The spending of President Tshisekedi at State House is more money than France. Can you compare our economy to France? Our president spend more than President Macron. You can't continue just blaming the others. The problem is the others. The problem first is us. If you are paying really soldier very well, $80, I can't go and die for $80. So I think what is important? What is important for us to bring peace today? Because you see, we don't have an army today.
No.
People are not fighting, which is a shame. We had the strongest army since colonial time. Everyone was scared about the Congolese army because the soldier was very well paid. This M23, Kabila kicked them out in 2012 with $300 million spent. Today, the government have spent $4 billion. These $4 billion. These all become business, or money doesn't go at the war. Money remain with some people, and the soldier, they are starving where they are. And this is really the result. No roads, no infrastructure, no future, and illegitimate. And the soldier, when they are fighting, they didn't elect anyone. They've got family, those soldiers. I didn't vote for him. Why I'm going to die for him? So I think what is important, there is the two churches, big church, the Protestant church and the Catholic church, which are leading the talks. We need to sit and talk. Let's stop fighting. The war is not going, even if there is a winner today. You are going to say why I'm supporting President Trump. It's trying to get a peace with no war. We have to have this peace with no war, because you know how many refugees are in my country, how many Congolese are dying every day in the war, and you know how many Congolese are dying with hunger per day in the big town of Kinshasa, in Katanga, jobless, no medication. Per day in all the countries, maybe 2,000 people, less than the war, because of bad governance. I think what is important, we have to protect our integrity for the territory, for Congo. We need to talk even with the other Congolese, which decided to go to the war, to say, let's come back on the same war, let's stop this situation.
Très bien, merci. Bonsoir à vous.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you. We are looking for partnerships, and we have established partnerships with many other countries, and we think the United States of America, given its role and influence around the world, is an important partner to have. And we are very happy to see that with the Trump administration, things are moving a lot faster on both sides.
Untapped deposits are worth an estimated $24 trillion. What would you need to happen to move forward with that relationship?
We want to extract these minerals, but also process them, as this would create a lot of jobs. And we want a partnership that will provide lasting peace and stability for our countries, which we need.
It's a dangerous place, the Congo. How would a U.S. company guarantee safety on the ground?
We can build our defense and security capabilities. And I think that the U.S. is able to use either pressure or sanctions to make sure that armed groups who are in the DRC
cette sentence. Et cela va dissuader
can be kept at bay.
Mr. President, and all the other stakeholders, Congolese stakeholders, in as far as the Congo is concerned. These are political parties from the opposition, civil society, and others. That document or that agreement was implemented. Its implementation took a couple of years. We went from just an agreement or just that document to a transition government, which was put in place for 3 years. After that government was in place, elections were held. Prior to elections, a constitution was adopted. And after that constitution was adopted, elections were organized, the very first free and fair elections after the 1960. And successive elections were organized. So the implementation of that agreement was close to 100%, meaning we shifted from a transitional government to an elected government, elected institutions, until we left office in 2019. So the document or the agreement was fully implemented.
Thank you so much. It's Zianda Ngobo from Newsroom Africa. I've got several questions. If you could just tell us what was the nature of your discussions with President Mbeki just now, and what brought you to South Africa to have this particular meeting. But also, maybe you can give us your assessment of why the situation in the Eastern DRC remains so fragile. Just yesterday, the M23 said they wouldn't be participating in the meeting in Luanda. So how do you resolve this if people don't want to come around the table? And just lastly, from my side, what do you make of the semi-DRC withdrawing its troops? What do you think the consequences of this withdrawal will be in the attempts to actually get peace there?
Well, those are very many questions. I don't think I'll remember all of them, but thank you. My meeting with former President Mbeki stems from an invitation. When we met in Windhoek, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, he wanted to know what it is that was happening in the Congo. So he invited me, and that's why I came to see him. 2 or 3 of the questions, I'm not the spokesman of the M23, so why did they not go to a meeting or not? I'm not very conversant with that. They definitely have their reasons, and you might have other channels to ask them that. But what was the third question?
The third one was, what do you believe the consequences of semi-DRC withdrawing from the Eastern DRC are going to be, given how fragile the situation remains, and you know the people who are supposed to be sitting around the table are not coming to the party?
Well, I haven't been following very, very, very closely the situation or the deployment, and of course the announcement of the withdrawal of some forces in the DRC. But our take has always been, and this is what I said a couple of weeks ago, that considering the situation, the solution that we adopted way back in 2002, 2003, because back then we also had close to the same kind of situation, where you have a multitude of armed forces, various armed groups. Today what is new is that you now have mercenaries who've been employed by the government forces. Our attitude back then was to ask each and everyone to leave. Each and every force was to leave, and that's exactly what happened. And that's what I believe directly or indirectly facilitated the peace process that that started immediately after. But is it the same solution that we can apply to the current situation? I believe part of it, yes, can apply the same solution. But considering that the problem is much more deeper than what everybody thinks it is, you have to go into the internal dynamics of what's happening in the Congo and definitely leave out this blame game of thinking that everything else that's happening is as a result of someone else. At one given point in time, we have to ask ourselves, is it not us, the problem, or our problem, and how do we solve it as Congolese? So what are the consequences of some DRC pulling out? Well, I don't see any major disturbances in as far as the withdrawal is concerned, because these are forces, as far as I know, that were deployed in a given area, which is areas around Goma. Any implications further than that, well, probably time will tell.
Mr. Former President, thank you for making time for us. My name is Muluko from ENCA. I just want to understand, considering the fact that early this month you called a meeting with the opposition leaders in the DRC and civil society, how do you, or maybe what were the solutions proposed by that particular meeting in terms of resolving the crisis there? But also, do you by any chance personally have intentions of returning as president of the DRC, given the crisis there?
The meeting that was called had its roots in one analysis that we made. We analyzed the situation and came to the conclusion that everybody else is talking about the Congo except the Congolese. You go to Nairobi, everyone is talking about the Congo. You come to South Africa, well, I can see the interest. Everyone wants to know what's happening in the Congo. But the Congolese themselves seem to be ignored. So the objective was, let's get together, civil society, opposition, and anybody else who's interested in our country, church leaders also, so that we can iron out and especially try to analyze the situation. What is the role of each and every player in what's going on in the Congo? What's the role of the government and civil society and, of course, the opposition? Well, the second question, meaning, am I ready? No, listen. We are ready to work, honestly work for peace, actively work for peace, and that was our attitude 22 years ago when we came to Sun City and signed the agreement. Our attitude today, being much more informed, is definitely to stand up again and be on the move, work for peace in any capacity that we can.
Mr. President, the role of the region and neighboring countries and the international community, what could be the role of other stakeholders outside the DRC in assisting the DRC again to have a peace process, as we see that Luanda talks are very shaky. It looks like it's a start and go. What must happen? What can lead to the lasting solution for the DRC?
In 2018, I participated in one of the last meetings, I believe, of the SADC, my last meeting as sitting head of state. And I told the leaders back then that I was happy, I was leaving, but that the Congo was no longer the old man of the region. Old man meaning the weakling of the region, SADC region and the region of the Great Lakes. That was my belief in a strong Congo, a Congo that was on track. But yes, 6 years later, we're almost close to square one, the point of departure. Now, what can all these other countries do? I believe it should not be a cyclic thing where 5 years down the road you have peace, 10, 15 years later you have war. No, the Congolese people don't want that. I believe we have to go back to the basics. For close to 16, 17 years, the Congo was stable. Not 100% stable, but stable enough for it to move forward in as far as economic development and other areas were concerned. So what do? I believe we have to go back to the basics. The basics meaning that we have to ask ourselves the question, where have we gone wrong? And I believe where we've gone wrong is that a number of mistakes have been made in as far as respect of rule of law, the constitution, governance, and all those. We have to go back to that. What can these regional countries or regional neighbors of the Congo do? Probably the same thing as in 2002, support a process or a peace process and move forward. You've talked about how shaky the peace process in Rwanda is. I believe that it's just the dynamics. People have not yet oiled the machine, but hopefully things will get back on track and people will start honestly talking of peace.
Mr. President, hello, Nellie Payton from Reuters. How do you respond to President Tshisekedi's accusation that you are an accomplice of the Congo River Alliance or the M23, and what is your relationship with those groups?
Well, if at all I was, the word you use is what? An accomplice?
Accomplice, I believe.
Well, the situation could not have been what it is. It could have been very different. So those are just baseless. Next time you see him, ask him to give you the proof of what he's saying. So that's all I can say.
In terms of Rwanda, which has been accused, at least by Pretoria, President Cyril Ramaphosa saying they are backing the M23. What's been your assessment? And if indeed they do have a hand in destabilizing your country, how should the international community then deal with Rwanda?
Well, I haven't heard President Ramaphosa, and I'm not going to either support or contradict what he said. I haven't heard him. My attitude to everything that's happening I can resume it in just one question. If I am weak, whose fault is it? Is it the fault of my neighbor or my enemy, or is it my fault? If and when you answer that question, then you'll definitely find a solution to the problem that you have. And the Congo cannot continue to be this crybaby in the region, talking about how weak it is and how strong everybody else is. That, to me, is not the right approach. Now, how does or will the international community deal with the situation? Well, I'm not part of that particular international community, but as a Congolese, what interests me and what interests the Congolese people is how do we deal with the situation ourselves. And I believe that should be the vantage point from where we'll be looking at things. We should be looking at things.
As a part of the solutions that you believe need to be implemented in the DRC, does this include a nation-building process, and what would that look like, and who would form part of it?
We earlier talked about the Sun City Agreement. The Sun City Agreement laid the foundation for what you might call a nation-building process. I don't think that anybody, mediators, facilitators, will do anything better than what we did in Sun City. I doubt that they will do that. And that's why I talked about going back to the basics, because from that particular agreement, we came out of that three years later with a constitution which laid the foundation for what you're talking about, nation building, institution building, elections, and the rest was supposed to follow. So that, to me, could be the approach.
Do you regret supporting President Tshisekedi during the first term?
I don't live with regrets. No. You make mistakes in life. They make you stronger. And if you're weak, they'll make you weaker. I believe I'm stronger now because of the mistakes that we made. Up to us to correct those mistakes.
Final question. Two more questions, and then let's not abuse the hospitality of the foundation.
Now, he is a dictator. 4 more questions. 4 more questions, yeah.
There are rumors, today there are rumors that there could be a coup d'etat or a rebellion in Katanga. Do you think there's a risk of that?
Well, the risk is across the country, it's not only in Katanga. The risk is across the country. 2.3 million square kilometers of the Congo is at risk. So,
at risk of a rebellion or a coup d'etat?
At risk of turmoil anywhere in the Congo. Yeah. So it's not only Katanga or one given region. Yeah.
Just a final one from my side. Do you think that your successor, President Tshisekedi, is part of the ongoing problem, and for as long as he is in the position, perhaps these problems will never be resolved? Is that your impression? But also, if you were to explain in simple terms to an outsider, sum up the pertinent problems confronting your country. If you were to say, the problem is here, these are the root causes. And of course, we see how that problem is manifesting itself.
Well, I'll sum up by saying this. I believe the problem in the Congo, you rightly said so, the problem is President Felix, the solution is President Felix. Now, how do you understand that? How do you turn that left and right? Up to you. But critical decisions have to be made. And in critical times, you have to make critical decisions. And these are critical times for the Congo. But in as far as we are concerned, well, like I said, we intend to be very much involved in everything that's happening, especially in as far as peace is concerned, and to move around instead of it just being a SADC thing or East African, for it to be our own initiatives, and go each and everywhere where we believe that we can bring about positive change, positive news, be it in the East, which we are preparing to do, be it in the South, in the North, and the West.
Merci beaucoup, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Hapa ni Kasai Centrale, groupement Kabanda Musef. Sie tuko bakongomani, hapa. Sasa tuko delegation inatoka Luiza ku territoire na banasema vile si tuko Baswahili, il faut tuoneshe makarte yetu. Kama amuna na makarte banakukonsidere uko M23, na ukikuwa na karte banalomba 30,000 francs kwa kila mutu. Njo problemi kwa hapa. Ndiyo tuko kunyumba ya chef de groupement. Kwa chef de groupement hapa, bale bota hapa njo kunyumba yake, familia yake hapa. Delegation iko ndani munyumba. Delegation ko munyumba. Hapa ni kwa chef de groupement wa Kabanda Musef, territoire ya Luiza na province ya Kasai Central. Aba benye banaka hapa njo Baswahili banakuya kuitika. Kuna kwa na exigence ya makuta moya fulani ya 30,000 francs par personne, njo ili kunafanyika hapa. Tuko na porte parole wetu, ule njo mwenye anasimama pale njo porte parole. Kuna chunga akutanani na delegation yenye ilitoka Luiza ku territoire. Njo situation tuko nayo hapa ku Kasai Central. Merci. Maneno ile. Yo